Alright. I made one video on this, but it was kind of stupid. Uh, but, anyways, this is still regards to the so called weak CPU on the Wii U controversy that seems to be just spreading around, and it won't stop because people are idiots, I guess. Or they just don't understand how basic technology works. First of all, understand this one part. I have a Mac, and on my Mac, I have two 2.8 gigahertz quad core Intel Xeon. Now take out that Xeon and replace it with an i7, and but everything else still stays the same. Having dual 2.8 gigahertz quad core Intel i7 chips. Guess which one's more better? The i7, but the Xeon has exactly the same specs because there's this other thing that goes into CPU manufacturing. It's called other factors and other things that you have to go look into to understand things. But people, apparently, with the Wii U, are so impatient that they'll just point at the first thing that they see. It's like when those documents on these weather professionals leaked out, and Fox News, which is now in some legal trouble, our News Corp altogether, who are also attached to IGN, by the way, over the death of a 10-year-old girl and their boss saying some, anti-Semitic statements. But anyways, Fox News got up there and started using these documents, and they just or these emails and just said ridiculous and idiotic things, and not really understanding half the shit they were even talking about. To disprove science. This is the same thing. You're looking at one part of it, but you're not looking at the whole part. We had the teardown videos. They were quite helpful in helping us understand what's going on. And then I saw a review text video, and he said something that was even more dumber that made me almost want to just ram my head into a wall. Where he basically said that the megahertz in the Xbox 360's RAM was higher than the megahertz in the Wii U's RAM. Oh, review tech, don't say stupid shit like that, dude. You know as well as I do that megahertz don't mean shit. Neither does the gigahertz. And what I said about the chipsets in my video, and, taking the Xeon out and just taking the same specs from my Xeon processors on my old Mac here and replace them with an i7, and yet, the i7s are better. Why? It's got the exact same gigahertz, but yet, the i7s are just better and faster, even though that they're at the same megahertz. Hell, the i7s are better than the old Xeons with lower gigahertz. Review Tech USA, you should have known better before saying that. You should have known. But I know you're not going to watch this video or give a rat's ass, but you did say something that was pretty stupid. I mean, I'm not going to stop watching your videos. I like them, but still. I just didn't get it when you said that. It just made me want to ram my head into a wall. Secondly, if anybody did their research or any of their basic research or looked further into the Wii U, they would have known that Nintendo was using something called a CP-GPU. What does that mean? Anybody? Anybody? Remember the PlayStation 3? The PlayStation 3 was doing this bizarre function that was a little bit weird, and it kind of hurt a lot of its third-party uh, developers. And this is important, but I'll explain. The Sony wanted to sell their cell processor so bad, and they wanted to make it marketable as possible, and it, of course, fell flat on their face. And now the cell processor is dead. The only thing that's really carrying the cell processor is maybe a couple of machines here and there in the PlayStation 3. But I'm jumping ahead. What they did for the PlayStation 3 to show off the great, powerful, cell processor was they took their GPU and shaved out half or most of its functions and gave it to the cell processor. And in their dev kits, they did this. Basically, they were pumping half the graphics information, most of the graphics information straight into the cell processor, and the other half was, minor stuff was going to the GPU. And that's not how games work at all. I mean, it was a fucking mess, and it's literally taken. I think whenever Uncharted came out, or maybe Uncharted 2, that they finally started getting an engine that can utilize the dev kits the way that they were meant to be used. And it was a mess. A fucking mess. Now, what did the Wii U do? Oh yeah, they pumped all that the CPU. No, they didn't. The CPU GPU is basically where they took half the functionalities of the CPU and pumped it straight into the GPU. Basically, they did what Sony did, but in reverse. And instead of pumping it into the CPU like the PlayStation 3 is doing, they're pumping it all into the GPU. So that's why they're not so worried about having a high-powered, CPU in there, because basically most of the CPU power is going into the GPU. Just to let you understand that. And I know none of the other consoles does this except maybe the Xbox 360, which kind of does the same functionality too, just on a lesser extent. Just to let you know. And yeah, the Xbox 360 utilizes a weak CPU and an incredibly strong GPU. So that's where Nintendo got that idea from. Maybe if you people did your homework, you would have figured it out. But then again, I'm just a guy you're all going to ignore. See ya.